So you have been home shopping with your agent. You walk in and you find the one. You're ready to submit an offer, but then you find out that there's already some offers on the table and you will be competing for your dream home. What do you do next? Hi, I'm Stephanie Zambo here in Northern Colorado. I'm a local real estate agent and here to be your guide to all things Northern Colorado. Feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get my updates on the latest videos covering the Northern Colorado real estate market and all of the exciting things that are happening here. So you go to submit an offer. So you sit down with your agent and you're discussing how to write the best offer possible. Well, here in Colorado, if you are working with an agent in a buyer agency capacity, your agent is there to help represent your best interests and to advise you and to help you write the best offer that you possibly can to get your dream home. So let's say you know there's two other offers on the table. You don't know what they're coming in at price-wise. You don't know their terms. All you know is that they are quote unquote strong. So all you know is that you can put your best foot forward. So here are a few ways in which you can strengthen your offer if you are in a competing situation. Of course, number one is price. You know, it coming in above list price, of course, is going to entice the seller. So coming up, you will have to determine how much, and your agent that you're working with can kind of get the feelers for what the other offers are at, how much above list price they are. Some agents are willing to disclose that, or the sellers are allowing them to disclose it. Some sellers do not allow it because they want to have it kind of hidden and have you just submit your what's called highest and best possible offer. So of course, price is one way in which you can be competitive. Next is appraisal gap. So if you are coming in above list price and you are having an appraisal done, so you're not paying cash and you have to have that third party appraiser who's going to come out and determine what they believe the value of the home is. Well, if you're coming in well above list price, there's a chance that the appraisal might not appraise for the price that you're offering. Well, how do you get around that in order for the seller to actually believe that the price you're offering is the price they will end up getting when all is said and done? One way is appraisal gap. So appraisal gap is you essentially offering to cover cash the difference between what the appraiser deems the home value is versus what you offer. So for example, let's say you offer $575,000, $25,000 above list on a house that's listed at $550,000. That leaves a $25,000 gap between what the home is listed at and what you are offering. Well, let's say you offer to cover all $25,000 above, or you offer to cover all $25,000 because you are offering $25K above. Let's say the appraiser ends up coming in at $570,000, not $575,000. Well, then you will end up just covering that extra $5,000. But if it came in at list price at $550,000 and you committed to $575,000, you will be bringing an extra $25,000 to the table. Now, yes, appraisal gap can be a very strong way to strengthen your offer and to ensure the seller is getting the price you are offering, but it can also be risky for you. So be sure to strategize and talk with your agent about what that means for you and what ultimately your goals are. If you're planning on being in the home just for a few years, a short amount of time, then it might not be advisable for you to offer a large amount of appraisal gap because it could take a while for you to recoup that money in terms of equity. I know personally, I worked in multiple offer markets. Northern Colorado is still experiencing multiple offers for some homes. And I usually don't advise my clients to offer much in appraisal gap just because I want to protect them and ensure that if they were to turn around and sell the home in a year, that they wouldn't be upside down and losing money. So that's just something to consider when and if you are offering an appraisal gap. Now, the next potential is very multifaceted, and that's in terms of the offer. The Colorado contract to buy and sell has several deadlines, majority of them buyer protective, in which it allows you to do research on the home. So one way is you can shorten the terms. So shorten your deadlines, do a very quick close. A lot of lenders can close if you are taking out a mortgage in as little as 2 weeks. Usually it's advisable to do about three weeks, 21 days. So you can have a very quick closing, which can be appealing to a seller, knowing that the deal is going to get done in quickly. If you are closing quickly, then the seller might need a little extra time to maybe find another house, or maybe they need some additional time to move. We all know moving can take some time. So if that happens, you can offer a quick closing and then offer what is called a post-closing occupancy agreement. A post-closing occupancy agreement is essentially a very short one-page lease that turns you as the buyer into a landlord for the seller for a very temporary period of time. You designate how long. If you are taking out a loan, it can be a maximum of 60 days. You designate if there's going to be a deposit. You designate the amount of rent. You designate who will take care of utilities and any additional terms that you might want outlined. However, usually if you're in a competing situation, offering very low rent or maybe offering that post-closing occupancy for free may be the best bet to get your offer accepted. So beyond just the shortening of the closing timeline and the shortening of all of the timelines in general when you're closing in a shorter period of time is inspection terms. So in the Colorado contract to buy and sell, you have the option for an inspection objection and an inspection termination and an inspection resolution. What that means is after having the home inspected, you can object in your sole discretion to anything that you find unsatisfactory. You then submit that objection to the sellers. The sellers are then going to look through that and you get into a negotiation period. You can either get a concession, so you can take care of it yourself after closing by money given to you by the seller at closing. You can have the seller fix it, or the seller can agree to fix it and provide invoices prior to closing. Or they can opt to do nothing at all, and it can be a combination of those three things. Well, that being said, you could opt to not object to anything and just leave the termination deadline in there. What that would mean is you are saying, anything that this house comes with, I'm basically willing to accept it and not try to negotiate on it. I'm only going to leave my right to terminate. And that is just in case something too big comes up that I'm just not willing to take on or deal with. And then in that case, I would just terminate the contract and walk away. Then you would be entitled to getting your earnest money back. So that is one way to strengthen your offer, is to waive inspection objections entirely. Now let's say you don't feel comfortable with that. Then another option is you can leave the inspection objection deadline in there, but then in the additional provisions of the contract, outline some parameters for the inspection. Maybe you are limiting inspection objections, so you can have the whole house inspected, but you're only allowed to object. So come back to the seller with requests for perhaps major mechanicals. So that's gonna be your HVAC systems, your plumbing, your electrical, the roof, maybe the sewer. That's always one that I recommend always having inspected. Or maybe, you're gonna have the whole house inspected, but you're really not worried. You're willing to fix anything that comes in under a value of $500. So you could just limit inspections and say, I'm only gonna come back to you with a request if an individual repair or replacement of an item is valued at $500 or above. So these are all just examples. Of course, you will want to strategize with your agent based on the individual house and the situation and the information you have available to you. So price, appraisal gap, and terms are going to be the three things that you have the most control over when you're submitting an offer. Of course, you will need to tailor it based on the competing offers, the home, the market, and the situation. And this is where working with an experienced buyer's agent becomes very important. One thing that you cannot do that I often hear from clients is submit a love letter. And what a love letter is you explaining how much you loved the home. And that has been completely, basically done away with by the National Association of Realtors. We as agents have been informed not to present those, and if you were ever to receive one, you're not supposed to give it to the seller. Majority of the reason is that it could be violating fair housing laws. So unfortunately, as much as you love the home, and we can certainly tell the sellers that you love the home, and that's why you're submitting the best offer you possibly can, but ultimately you are not allowed to write any love letters. So remember, just put your best foot forward. And one thing I always tell my clients is that if for some reason you don't get the house, it wasn't meant to be, and the right one is still out there for you. It's happened time and time again. I have worked with tons of buyers, a lot of first-time home buyers, and I know that it can be disappointing to lose out on what you believe your dream home is, but you will find the right one if your amazing offer that you submitted doesn't get accepted. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to submit a stronger offer if you do end up in a competing situation. Again, my name is Stephanie Zambo here in Northern Colorado. I'm a local real estate agent and here to be your guide to all things Northern Colorado. So whether you're packing that moving truck or doing just a little bit of research, reach out to me anytime, text, email, or call, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.